Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of my Parenting SOS, Surviving and Thriving COVID-19. So for those of you that are joining for the first time, I'm Joy Marchese, and I'm the founder of Positive Discipline UK. And I'm going to share with you my experience as a positive discipline trainer, as an educator for over 20 years, and as a parent. So I've been teaching in classrooms for a very long time, teaching in corporate settings, and everything that I'm going to share with you applies in all areas. And so many of you are working from home now. Most people are working from home now, and they're trying to balance out, how to work from home and childcare and being with their kids. And so everything that we talk about is really applicable in all areas of your life. So I hope that those of you that have been tuning in, you've been finding this helpful. And if so, please share with others. I would love to review last night, and tomorrow, just so you know, tomorrow is one of our last episodes of Parenting SOS. It's family meetings. And on Friday, we have a live Q&A with Dr. Jane Nelson, the co-creator of Positive Discipline, and myself. So be sure to tune in. So last night we talked about sibling rivalry, and I gave you a tool called the 3 Bs. Ways in which you can respond to sibling fights. I'm wondering if, first of all, I hope you didn't have to deal with some fights today, but if you did, is there anyone that's on live that has dealt with a sibling fight today? And did you use any of the 3 Bs? And if so, did you find it helpful? So I'll let people respond as they're coming on. I'm getting a lot of comments from people that they're finding many of the tools that we've used, like the 3 Bs, the 4 Rs of recovery, the bugs and wishes. I'm getting a lot of success stories about that. And my husband, for example, used bugs and wishes with me again today, and I really appreciated it. He actually did it in a text message because I was outside with my daughter, and I had given her a new princess dress that we had ordered to surprise her, just to we're trying to give her some things every few days, do new activities and whatnot. And I had given it to her while he was on his work conference call, and we were outside playing, and he sent me a message, and he said, "It really bugs me that you gave Chloe her princess dress when I wasn't there, and I wish you would have waited and we could have given it to her together." And you know what? I really appreciated that. He's right. He was the one that actually ordered it, and it was his idea. So it really wasn't fair for me to take that away from him. So I really appreciated it, and I didn't get defensive. And I just said, "I'm sorry. Next time I'll be more thoughtful about that." So, right now, it's actually really difficult. We're all just trying to survive in our own way. And I was on a conference call today, and people were sharing, many people were quite optimistic about, let's look at the silver linings of this experience, and what can we learn from it, and how can we be better human beings as a result. And then some people, brought up, the really, the challenges that some of us aren't, it's not in our face, the increase in domestic violence and child abuse, and people that literally, don't have the money to buy food, let alone then go to the supermarket and there's no food available, and stuff like that. And, I think, again, we're all really just trying to survive in our own way. And it's important for us to celebrate the little wins. And one of the most important things that we can do is really to show our gratitude, and think about the things, our gratitude and our blessings, and think about ways in which we can contribute, ways in which we can make a difference and we can help others. So even in our small ways. So some of the things that we have done, we have cleaned things out, and donated books to charities and to children that may not have them. We have planted flowers for our neighbors that we know live alone, and just to cheer them up and give them a little, surprise. We have reached out to neighbors that we know that are in very vulnerable situations, that are elderly, that are ill, to see if they need anything and if they need food. We've written cards and drew pictures for friends and family members and teachers. So thinking about all the ways that we can reach out to others. And I'm bringing this up because tonight's session is all about problems and finding solutions. So we're obviously all dealing with major problems that are coming up. And when I think about the people in our society that are really helping come up with some really big solutions, here in the UK, how can we support all the key workers, the NHS workers that, don't have time to go food shopping? And, how can we make sure that they are keeping healthy? And I think about the government and how they're thinking about how we can support all those of us that are now unemployed, not making incomes, and how can we make sure that people that are on benefits continue to receive the benefits. So we really need problem solvers, critical thinkers, people in our society that are really coming up with those solutions, closing down shops that don't need to be open, but still supporting those business owners. And, how are we dealing with the queues in the supermarkets and making sure that everyone can still get their food and be safe. So I know that one of the skills that I really want to teach my daughter is problem solving and really focusing on solutions. So I get asked, that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And before we move on, I just want to say hello to those of you that are calling in. And I'm so glad and I mean to hear that you just took time out today for some self-care. So that's great. I see a lot of people on. And Lexi, thanks for sharing. When the boys were fighting today while I was in the room, I got up and said I was leaving the room, and they both came to give me a hug and apologized and stopped fighting. So that's great. I'm glad to hear that the beating it worked for you. And you don't even have to tell them you're leaving the room. You can just let them see you, make sure they see you, and just walk out. And that usually diffuses it quite quickly. So thank you so much for sharing, Lexi. So I get a lot of parents that ask me, about, well, shouldn't there be consequences to actions? And of course, there are consequences to our actions. And it's important that when we teach children consequences and positive discipline, we help them learn from natural and logical consequences through curiosity questions. And that's not the tool we're going to focus on tonight, but we have lots of tools in the tool card. You can learn about curiosity questions. In our books, you can learn about curiosity questions. Tonight, we're going to talk about focusing on solutions. And, children are just incredible. And you may have noticed this, all the solutions children are coming up now to keep themselves busy and to help contribute. And I don't even know who came up with the rainbow in the windows here in the UK, but, children are coming up with all sorts of solutions and creative ideas to be helpful. And when we provide them with the opportunities to problem solve, often they come up with better solutions than we do. So that's what this is really about. And I'd like to really explain, and I just saw that someone is on from Jordan. So that's amazing. I can't read your name because it's in Arabic, but welcome and thank you for joining us. So I would like to do an activity with you that we do in our parent classes to help parents understand the difference between logical consequences and focusing on solutions. So for this activity, I'm going to need some of you to actually put yourself in the shoes of 8-year-old Serena. Okay. And it's putting yourself into the child's world so that you can understand how they feel. However, I'm going to need some of you to be parents and give me some answers on the comments. So you can choose which role you want to play. So let's start with giving you a little bit of the scenario. So Serena is an 8-year-old little girl who is now home, right? We're all home. And the family has agreed that they're all going to have breakfast together and that they're all going to meet downstairs at 9 o'clock and have breakfast together. And Serena is not getting herself out of bed. She's coming down late. She's making the family late. Breakfast is getting cold. And the family's really getting annoyed with her. Okay. So I would like to know from those of you that are watching, what are some consequences that we can use to really teach Serena a lesson? How can we teach her a lesson that her behavior is having a negative impact on the family? So if you can put your answers in the comments, that would be really helpful. Let me give you an example. So for example, the family eats without her. Okay, that's a logical consequence. What else? What other ideas do you guys have? So I was told by my husband there's a little bit of a delay, so I'm going to give it just a second to give you guys an opportunity to catch up. So any consequences to teach Serena a lesson. So I'll give you another one. Serena doesn't get breakfast. She goes with it. If she's not down by 9 o'clock, she doesn't eat breakfast. How about she has to clean everybody's breakfast dishes? Or since she can't get up in the morning, she has to go to sleep earlier than everyone every night so that she can get up on time. Okay, so Valerie says she should eat breakfast by herself. Okay, maybe explain that, it's not the same when she's not there and we miss her. She won't join lunch with the family if she misses breakfast. Okay, so let's leave it, and maybe she loses all her screen time because she's not coming down and taking responsibility. So those of you that are putting yourself in Serena's shoes, just notice right now what you're thinking and how you're feeling and what you're deciding about yourself or to do. Just take a moment to reflect. If you're hearing all of those consequences, what are you thinking and feeling? And now let's think about this a little bit. Oh, and Maren says, she has to eat cold breakfast. Okay, she has to eat the cold breakfast. So thank you all for sharing. So now let's look at this a little bit differently. Let's say now you've gone to a positive discipline course, you've learned a tool, and let's think about some solutions that will help Serena. Okay, and when we talk about solutions in positive discipline, you might be able to see this poster behind me, and it says solutions are, we call it the 3 R's and 1 H. Solutions are respectful, reasonable, related, and helpful. So we're looking for solutions that are respectful both to Serena and to the other family members. They're reasonable, and they're related to the situation. And of course, they're helpful. They're helping Serena learn life skills and life lessons. So now I want you to think about solutions that would help Serena. So for example, ask Serena, how would she like to be woken up in the morning? So brainstorm some ideas. How would she like to be woken up? Think about some other solutions. So for example, create a family morning wake up playlist and let Serena be the DJ. So she plays the morning song for the family. So can anyone else think of other solutions that might be respectful, reasonable, related, and helpful? Ask her how she can solve the problem. So ask her, again, what would be helpful for her to wake up in the morning. Maybe she just needs an alarm clock, and you can look at getting an alarm clock for her. What about creating a morning routine with her that includes a timetable? Maybe making a list of fun activities that she can do in the morning before breakfast with you. So it's kind of like your special time. That might include making breakfast. And I see that someone shared, yes, make a routine and maybe brainstorm and agree what would be a good time for everyone to eat breakfast. So I'm hearing a lot of asking her and getting her involved in the problem solving. So those of you that are putting yourself in Serena's shoes right now, after hearing those solutions, what are you thinking? How are you feeling? And what are you deciding? So take a moment to reflect. You can actually, I like that solution. You can ask if she wants to kind of play waitress and serve the family breakfast. So if any of you were Serena, I want you to reflect. What were you thinking, feeling, deciding? Can you share below in the comments, what were you thinking? So Nermeen says she was feeling, as Serena, involved in the second round. What was different for you in the first round and in the second round? So typically when we do this in a parent class, the person who is Serena in the first round is feeling disconnected, She's feeling defensive. She's thinking this isn't fair. She is not feeling included. And I'm still seeing solutions coming up. So I'm trying this live for the first time. And I guess because there's a little bit of a delay, it's hard to kind of stick with that. So thank you all for sharing with that. So I want you to notice that the two ways in which we did this, okay, think about what lessons Serena was learning from the first list that we created. Think about which list, so when we list the consequences and the solutions, so list 1 and list 2, which list did you feel more connected? Which one was helping you feel like you wanted to cooperate? The first round, the first list, or the second? And I'm seeing that some people are saying they were feeling loved and respected in the second round. The second time there was more belonging. And remember, we said last week in one of our sessions when we talked about the basic needs of all human beings is to feel belonging and significance. So when we think about solutions, how do solutions help us feel more connected and give us more of a sense of contribution and contributing? The difference between those two examples, the first round where we were giving consequences and the second round where we were giving solutions, is really profound when you think about it, right? The first round, even though we called it consequences, what was it really? Right? It was more punishment, right? Didn't it sound more like punishment? So in the first round, the focus was on really making Serena pay for her mistakes, right? Instead of, in the second round, solutions are focused on helping children learn and do better in the future. So learn those life skills that we really want for them. So in other words, consequences can sometimes really make children feel bad in hopes that it will motivate them to do better. So I remember when I took my first positive discipline session, a workshop with Jane Nelson many years ago, I think it was 15 years ago. And she said in the workshop, where did we ever get the crazy idea that in order to get children to do better, first we have to make them feel worse? Why do we feel we have to break kids down to build them up? It doesn't work. We know that children and adults do better when they feel better. Okay, so thinking about, and I'm seeing lots of comments about in the second round, there was more belonging. Serena feels more involved. So logical consequences, this is why we've moved away from logical consequences. It doesn't mean they don't exist. Children learn from logical and natural consequences. However, a lot of the times parents and teachers try to disguise punishment. So if it's a true logical consequence, it will be respectful, reasonable, and related. So those first three, respectful, reasonable, related, is a logical consequence. If it's not respectful, reasonable, related, it's really just punishment. Okay. However, this is what's different. Solutions are always logical consequences, right? Because they're always respectful, reasonable, and related. But logical consequences are not always solutions because they're not always helpful. They don't always help teach the characteristics and life skills that we want for our kids. I hope that makes sense to everyone. I'm not sure if that activity went exactly the way I wanted, but if it wasn't clear, can you ask your questions or put them in the comments so that I know that I have to really explain it a little bit better. So I would like to read to you in our tool deck, our problem solving tool card. And this is what it says. Use daily challenges as opportunities to practice problem solving with your children. So number 1, brainstorm for solutions during family meetings or with one child. So again, tomorrow night, we're going to bring this all together and we're going to talk about family meetings and the steps for family meetings and how to do those successfully. But many of you said brainstorming solutions with Serena. Number 2, ask curiosity questions to invite your child to explore solutions. So asking what and how questions. How does that impact the family? What might be the results? For fights, your kids can figure it out. So say to your kids, you kids can figure it out. Come back with your plan. So I shared that with you last night with the 3 Bs. And the last one for chores, brainstorm what needs to be done and invite your kids to create a plan. Be willing to try their plan for a week. So a lot of problem solving means it's trial and error. We come up with a plan, we try it, we see if it works. If it doesn't, we choose a new solution. And each time children are learning. And even as adults, we thought something would work and it doesn't. So that's what it's about, is learning from what works and what doesn't. So the good news for all of us now, okay, and this is, I'm going to go to a silver lining here, is that there's a lot of daily challenges arising right now. So it's giving you a lot of opportunities to focus on solutions with your children right now. And again, the key word is with your children. So I'm just going to share a quick story about Jane Nelson's son, Brad. I hope it's okay that I'm sharing this, Brad. He has this on a blog, so it's not so personal. This was on his blog, Single Dad Brad, and I remember reading it and it just made me laugh. And he talked about he had a teenage son who kept throwing his dirty clothes on the bathroom floor, and it was driving him nuts. And the solution that Brad came up with was to put a hamper, or I think someone helped him come up with that solution, like another parent made that suggestion, just put a hamper in the bathroom. Like, how hard can it be to get undressed and throw your clothes in the hamper? So he got a hamper for the bathroom, and then he still noticed, and I'd seen pictures of this once before, I think he put it on the blog, the pile of clothes was still on the floor. And he was so frustrated, like, I don't understand, like, how difficult is it? When he actually sat down with his son and focused on solutions with him and asked him what he thought as far as problem solving, his son said, well, yeah, Dad, can you just get me a bath mat? And the reason he was putting his clothes on the floor was to mop up the water from the shower. He didn't like stepping in the water. And what happened was, once he got the bath mat, the problem was solved. So it just reminds us to go back to involving children. I love that example because, in reality, we think we know what the solution is. But when we don't engage our children, sometimes we're wrong. So keeping that in mind. And that goes to our second tool card for the night, which is show faith. I'm just going to read this one to you, and then we're gonna end tonight's session. Show faith. When we show faith in our children they develop courage and faith in themselves. Instead of rescuing, lecturing, or fixing, say, I have faith in you to handle this. Children develop their problem-solving skills and disappointment muscles through experiences. Validate their feelings. I know you're upset. I would be too. And I have faith in you. So we talked about validating feelings last week. And you can show faith. Even in my daughter, who's 2.5, I'll say, Chloe, I have faith in you. You can do this. I believe in you. And she does it. It's not making our children suffer. It's just allowing them to suffer so that they can experience their disappointment muscles and they can build the resiliency that they really need right now. So just to end this, I want to share that, many parents tell us that when they focus on solutions in family meetings, it really reduces power struggles in the home, and it really shifts the family atmosphere. Your thinking as a parent and your behavior will change, and as a result, so will the behavior and the thinking of your children. So keep that in mind whenever you have the opportunity to really sit down and brainstorm and focus on solutions. Focusing on solutions is probably the foundation of successful family meetings, which we'll be discussing tomorrow night. So I hope that this helps. I hope that you can use this tool. Take a screenshot of the poster behind me. And tomorrow night, we'll bring it all together with family meetings. So thank you so much for joining me. Sorry, it went a little bit longer tonight. And stay well, be safe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.